Hello everyone, a big warm welcome to all of you on this Special Needs Children podcast. Today I have with us a very dear young friend, Jai Hopf. Hi Jai, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me.
I am honestly very excited to be here. So,
Yes! Super. So Jai, I'll just share about you briefly with our audience. Jai is an art-based practitioner and a behavior therapist who has decided that he would want to help a lot of special needs individuals. And his own journey with learning differences led him to be homeschooled, and his personal experience with ASD has inspired him to focus his practice on supporting a lot of others on the spectrum. After pursuing the Child Holistic Inclusion course at Atman Academy, he is currently enhancing his knowledge from ACT, Asian College for Teaching for Special Needs, basically special education. And he's also started training for animal assisted therapy, music therapy, and also getting himself trained for sign language. So Jay emerges not just as an advocate for autism awareness for all of us, but a true testament to the resilience, individuality, and profound potential that resides within the diverse spectrum of human experience. Jay, I'm diving straight
go for it.
to asking you, how was childhood?
Childhood was, in a single word, weird. But to probably expand on that, I had a very hard time initially making friends mostly because I was just a very weird kid. I would do things that were not socially appropriate. I would not know what was socially appropriate for a long time. And it also led to me getting taken advantage a lot of by various other children.
Right.
Things that I would be told to do that I would just accept at face value. If someone would say something, I would just like, oh, okay, I'll do it. Oh, you want me to hang on the wall for something and it'll make you all happy? Okay, cool. Like, I wouldn't question it or realize that some of it was bullying. Yeah, and that didn't occur to me at the time. It led to a lot of other weird things. So first, schooling was absolutely awful for the most part during childhood because I would just get bounced from one school to another to another. Pretty much every other year, I was in a new school, and at least up until third standard. After that, I was homeschooled. And it also led to a few other weird things. So, like when I was 11, in my search for friends, because I was still very lonely and I still wanted friends. And I realized at some point that there were a lot of children who were being told to stay away from me because what if they got what I did? So their parents would tell them to basically stay away. And well, I was like, okay, I have my brother, I have my dog, and I have my dad, but I also want to have some friends. Be nice. And then I did the absolutely amazing and incredibly intelligent thing of standing in the street and asking everyone who passed by, hello, will you be my friend? Hello, will you be my friend? And I did this for a long time to, well, it led to me actually making one or two unsavory friends, let's say. One of which was this older boy who then used my naivety to then take advantage of me. And then at the age of 11, he had sexually abused me for a while. So that also happened. And then eventually I just went into, okay, you know what? I don't like people. I will stay away from everybody. Who needs friends? I have dogs. Yeah. So childhood was very weird. Schooling has its own host of issues, but we'll probably delve into that later. Now it's obviously a lot better, and I'm much, much happier.
So the diagnosis came at what stage of the life?
I was diagnosed at the age of 13.
Okay.
So at Sassoon Hospital, I was diagnosed for autism spectrum disorder. Over there.
How did it impact you? What happened?
Well, seeing as a lot of the negative stuff happened prior to that, the actual diagnosis itself didn't have a strong impact on me. I didn't quite know what it meant. At that point, I just thought that, okay, it's something else. My dad used to talk to me about me possibly having ADHD because I would exhibit a lot of those. And it turns out I do actually have ADHD. But he would talk to me about that. So I thought, oh, it's probably something like that, It's not a. I found out later that changed the environment around me more than anything else. For me, it wasn't a big deal, but the way my parents would then treat me afterwards and were generally a lot more understanding with certain behaviors. And that also led to my dad helping create a training program specifically to help me learn how to socialize better. And we would have practice sessions for it. Sometimes we'd go out late at night or very early in the morning, far away from everybody else in a naturey environment, because I liked that and found that calming. And then we just go back to back practicing various social etiquette questions or analogies or euphemisms, things that otherwise is difficult for me to grasp. And honestly, that was so helpful. That helped me a great deal. I'm very, very thankful to it.
Wow, lovely. Can you share a little more about your family? Who else is there?
Well, I have a brother, my younger brother Param. He is amazing. He is like, how you say, tech wizard. My dad, he has been the homemaker and he has been taking care of me and my brother and has raised me and my brother since we were children. And my mother, who has been the primary breadwinner for the family, she has gone through so much to try and make sure that everything can go well. And yeah, little family. We've had one dog at one point, Patches, our very first dog. Then my dad was very cool and let us have lots more dogs. And now we've had more than 30 dogs.
Wow. So currently,
Currently only two.
only two. What are their names? Their names?
Pumpkin. Sorry, it's not Pumpkin. Peaches and Protos. Unfortunately, Pumpkin a couple years ago passed away. Sorry, she's stuck in my head.
So, specifically about, homeschooling, yes, it does seem to have helped a lot. And all of the acads, like, I was just wondering, you can converse on any topic with anybody. Is that because you read a lot? Are you very curious as a person? Or you are a keen observer and pick up conversations? What's it?
So, part of what homeschooling allowed me to do was branch out into a little bit of everything. I was allowed to do so many things that otherwise I don't think children would get time to do. My father, while under supervision to make sure everything is fine, allowed me to go to various places. So I've been to Muktangan Science Exploratory Center. I got to learn how to do proper chemistry, physics, biology, math, geology, things like that over there. In proper lab settings that at that point of time a lot of schools didn't have unless they were very fancy. And I got to also do things I wanted to, like I got to work in a motorcycle shop because I thought it was cool. Engines are awesome. I got to work at a plant nursery. I got to, in that plant nursery, learn a lot about India's history because I met this very old British woman who actually gave me a lot of insightful information of what India was like pre and post independence because she was there.
Wow.
So, honestly, all of these opportunities I don't think I would have gotten in a traditional school and also wouldn't have gotten without so much support from my father. And because of that, I think homeschooling helped me a lot. It also allowed me to have a little bit of leeway for things going here and there. Like, okay, I like this subject, but I want to pivot to this and this. I want to pivot to that. It didn't always force me to stay in something that I would get annoyed with and then give up on.
So it's primarily NIOS, and after that,
Yeah, so homeschooling, a lot of what that involved was a lot of free open study. However, it is important that we all have our paperwork in order because, we gotta have our like 10th, 12th, things like that. So I would study NIOS at home. And I honestly love the fact that the government has NIOS as a program. I think it's one of the best programs that currently, in my opinion, that currently exists. It allowed me and my brother to study at home while continuously learning other things that we also wanted to learn in an environment that worked well for us. And we would only really have to go for the examinations. We could go for other additional classes if we wanted to. We could do our 10th, we could do our 12th. And after that, there was IGNU for anything bachelor's onwards. So, yeah, I feel like if anyone's going to do any kind of homeschooling in India, see if you can incorporate NIOS into your general curriculum. It'll be helpful. It'll also give you the pieces of paper you need to show that you have your full standard school education. So,
Right. And your thoughts about NIOS or IGNOU in particular? How is it viewed? Like, when today you are working,
hmm.
how do people perceive you?
So NIOS is usually and unjustly perceived as like a thing where people that fail go to. It's the easy thing that only people who can't hack it in other curriculums get into.
That's terrible.
Yeah, which actually isn't the case. NIOS and CBSE have a very similar curriculum. And in fact, there are a lot of topics that are covered in NIOS that other curriculums don't even have. So I feel like it gets a bad rap, especially when it's genuinely something that can help so many people. It's unfair.
Right. Thanks for sharing about that. So, what role, Jay, do you think experiential education plays in the development of children with special needs, especially in fostering creativity and problem solving skills?
Hmm. Well, for me, this links again back to homeschooling because that was to me a very holistic education. I didn't just learn your standard subjects. I also got to learn a lot about how things will generally work. So, how it affected my creativity. Me being allowed to learn and work on engines, for example, helped me develop my visual spatial skills pretty greatly. And that I thought was amazing because that visual spatial skill translated into generally more creativity for me. I got to I was able to imagine things to a much better and higher detail than I was able to before. So I enjoyed that. I feel like the idea of holistic education shouldn't be its own separate, like, okay, you have education and then you have this other type of education and you have this. I feel like generally holistic education should be a part of every curriculum, should be part of everything that we learn.
Hmm. And I'm getting a sense that, from what you shared, it has been so helpful for you and for your brother that I'm sure that you following that and you're advising many others to also.
Oh yeah, you learn a lot of life skills from that.
Yeah.
So, for example, I would learn literally how do you interact with another person. Okay, I would also have to, practice a little bit. How do you interact with another person who doesn't want to interact with you? I had realized later that there are a bunch of interactions where people will say things, but you're supposed to say them. Like, you know how the usual, oh, hey, how are you? Oh, I'm fine, thank you. Like, that's a common thing, right? Um, I used to just kind of blurt things out or just say, oh, I have nothing, so I won't talk to you. Um, it didn't work out very well, but I got to learn how
You
to.
learned how to camouflage.
Yeah. So I
Say
feel like
your
my social skills were also improved because I was able to get a generally more holistic education.
Got. So, what, where did you decide to want to help other kids? When did that come in?
Ah, okay. So many years ago, about 6, 7 years ago, um, my mother was already in special education at the time and was going to a class that was hosted by Miss Jasmeet Arora, a brain gym class. And I was also signed up for it. I was like, okay, I want to see what this is about. Brain gym sounds interesting, and I'm doing all of these other kinds of studies, but it's like a light bulb. I'm shining faintly everywhere. I'm not focusing on anything like a laser beam. I want to see what that's like. And I get there. I find out that, okay, this is actually a surprisingly helpful class, and a lot of the activities that they're trying to show, like I can see this being something that I would be able to use for myself. Like some of these things will help me improve my own skills. It's like, okay, there's something here. This is a real thing. There's some merit here. I want to know more. And I got to approach Miss Jasmeet, and oh my gosh, she was so warm and so kind. And I basically asked her, hey, can I go to your clinic and like look around a little bit, see what's going on, just get an idea? And she's like, yeah, of course, come on. And she helped me not only realize that special needs was a field I wanted to work in, it was also one that I was good at. And I was like, oh my gosh. I got to share my experience with a lot of the other therapists there, and also utilize it in some of the plans and things that we were making, and be able to make it more effective for some of the children who were having to go there for therapy. So that worked out to be this eye-opening experience for me. It's like, wait, I know what this feels like. I think I know what this kid is going through. I can help. And I got trained after that. And then I started interning there for a while before then properly working there. And I'm so glad that I went to that brain gym class. It was absolutely worth it.
Super. So today, when you are sitting in front of a family and you're telling them that, this is what I would do for your son. So typically, what is the age group of children that you have been, offering your service to? From what age?
Well, I've worked with children as young as like 2 to 3 years old,
Okay.
all the way up to about 27, 28.
Wow, that's fabulous.
So there's no specific set age range.
Lovely. And so parents understand where you're coming from, and they're happy to engage with you as a team to help their children.
Yeah, that is there. A lot of parents that I will work with typically are on board to help out as a team. There are some parents who are, and I understandably so, are constantly with their child, and sometimes it's very difficult for them to work with their child. Sometimes they need a little bit of a break. So a lot of the time we'll have like a few weeks of sessions where the parents aren't involved at all, so they can just get some time to unwind and relax a little bit before moving back in and taking on a more constant role. Because whenever you're going to include, whenever you have therapy of any kind, right, it shouldn't be just a one and done thing. It should be something that goes with you throughout your life, right? It's a lifestyle change.
True.
So having parents assist with these lifestyle changes for the children takes a lot of effort and takes a lot of energy. Yes, parents do typically help, and that is honestly the part that actually takes the most time. Having the parents learn, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do, this is why we're going to do what we're going to do, and this is how it works, and all of these other things, like that usually takes longer than whatever is going to be done.
Yeah, because I felt that maybe some of them think, that you coming from the same space, will you actually be able to help the kids? And I hope they are receptive and they understand that you actually have an advantage and you'll be able to help out more. And can you please shed light on uh, uh, ABT plus behavior therapy? How do you choose what to do when? And do people reach out to you saying that, hey, can you please come do ABT for my child, or can you do behavior therapy? Or
So
do you do a mix? How does it happen?
that's a good question. They are not mutually exclusive for the most part. So put simply, behavioral therapy is helping change your line of thinking change your line of thinking, change what you might feel about certain things. That way you can slowly alter your perspective on it and then allow that to affect your behavior. And ABT, mean arts-based therapy, is not just like, okay, drawing and painting, because that's the most common thing. When people think arts-based therapy, the first thing comes to your mind is painting, drawing, coloring. And those are included, However, the point of arts-based therapy is that you use all forms of artistic skills, which includes theater, which includes auditory as well, visual, everything, right? All the various mediums of art to then use it for therapy. So, as an example, um, for you and I, let's say you get into a weird situation and you need to work on your leg because you're having some trouble moving your leg or you're having some trouble walking, just as an example. And rather than your standard therapy where you have your set of practice exercises, and I'm not going to say that standard therapy is bad, it's amazing. Okay, I'll make that very clear. But for a lot of children, they might can get bored. And it's very easy for children to get bored. So what I will typically do is I'll use various different artistic forms to try and make that form of exercise into something that is more fun. So for example, we will have various battles, right? We'll have various false battles. We'll have like a pillow shield, and we'll have like a foam sword or something, and we'll have various extensions and thrusts and a battle cry or things like that, right? Now you're still getting the movement you need to get,
Right.
but it's in a form that is more enjoyable.
Lovely.
Hmm.
Got it. Very beautiful. Thank you for explaining that so beautifully. Jay, can you please share your perspective about the importance of holistic inclusion, especially in terms of learning with diversities?
I see. So in this case, having holistic, inclusive education, usually, and the inclusive part is the tricky thing, right? Is incredibly important. So i- just ignoring your things like ASD, just for the time being, right? Children are going to be different no matter what. There are some children who will simply learn better by watching something, some children who learn better by hearing it, some children who learn better by acting it out or imagining it in their head. This is going to be the case. And this is, and well, that is how it is. So, an inclusive classroom is not one that will simply teach through a single medium. You won't have your standard teacher writing on the board, copy, and then as a child, children who are like struggling to learn visually, right, and understand it visually are still trying to figure it out. The teacher's like starting to erase, and you're going through the panic of, oh my god, the teacher's erasing, will I get it done in time? And then you don't, and then you're just like, okay, I'm not going to get it done, I give up. And that's when your brain just shuts off for the rest of the class. Your learning turns off, as compared to a teacher that's making sure that you have a visual medium, there is a proper spoken and discuss, like there's a discussion or a spoken medium, so there you have the auditory. If any part of it can also be shown as a physical action, like, okay, today we're learning about this Rajput king who has done this thing, you know, and like and you have a thing that King Rashus or whatever, had this fighting style where he would raise his sword high and sneeze on it, just like to make it more visually appealing, but also because you're having all of this physical action, right? And you allow children to also, like, now if you were one of these kings, what way would you want to fight? And everyone do one quick action to show me how you'd want to fight. Now, this is bringing in all of that engagement. This is getting everyone more excited. The children who were initially like, what is going on with the board, are learning, oh, this is like we're learning history, we're learning about fighting in history. That's cool, right? All of that is being brought in, and this is helping every child. This is helping not just the ones who have trouble with certain things, like with ASD. Some children may have difficulty with, say, audio, right? They might find it too sensitive, so they may want to block it out. If you have a classroom that teaches you in various different things, right, you can then allow audio levels to be a little lower. You can allow audio levels to be a little bit less pronounced to make it easier for them as well. But everybody is still learning and is enjoying that learning. That is a key part of having an inclusive classroom. You make it so that everybody that is there can enjoy themselves, can learn and have fun.
Lovely. So how does this whole pull the sword out, uh, you know, happen when you're actually in the workspace? What happens to inclusive employment?
Well, in the workspace, things can get a little bit different. When you say in the workspace, are you talking about children who eventually grow on to be adults and start working? Or, okay. So, in that case, what I just talked about or what I just spoke about was how you'll teach skills, right? How you'll teach these things. Now, you can still use that. Like, let's say a child is going to be working in, let's see, a stuffed toy factory, just as an example. Okay, I'm coming up with these randomly. So you go through the various actions, right? And for making sure that your employees in the factory also learn how to do it, rather than having them just read a simple guide, you will have it done. You'll have everyone like practice it and try it themselves and show it physically, have everyone touch it. Even for those jobs that don't require you to actually do anything physical, even for the jobs that are, let's say, more like accounting, as an example, okay? Like accounting, even for those jobs, you can still have a visual medium to show and represent what it is that you're going to be doing. Like, okay, we have this person, and these are all of the chips that this person is giving us, and we have to figure out how to put these chips in this place, and these chips in this place, and these chips in this place, so that when it goes through this, the chips will actually become bigger, and then we'll give it back to the person. And you'll also get a few chips as well because you made all the chips bigger. Just things like that, right? And you have this be a full flow. Things like that will help in a workspace. And it seems very silly. I understand there'll be a lot of adults who may roll their eyes like, what is this? At the same time, it honestly helps these ideas stick so much better.
So amongst your peers, those who who are only working elsewhere, would you say it was a huge struggle for them to get employment?
Oh, yeah. Uh, there are many who have been denied employment. Um, my brother has tried in a couple of places, but he has a very hard time dealing with people. So even he himself will try to communicate a little bit, but he can't communicate too much because it starts to then become overwhelming. Some limitations that exist, right? And then because no accommodation is made, even if it could be an easy thing to make, it prevents him from being able to continue and join the workforce like a standard person otherwise would, right? So these, like, I see this. It's quite like it's a common thing. Small accommodations could easily be made all over the place to make it so that people can actually work better. Like, let's say um, you're in an office, just as in, like, say you're in a specific office type thing, right? And there is someone on the spectrum who can join. Now, you can either, like, they have a very hard time working in one part of the office because the light is hitting something and it becomes extremely overwhelming because when that light hits a reflective part and it starts shining, after a while that visual overload takes in and they cannot handle it. They start getting overwhelmed, they start getting frustrated, they start to shut down. When a simple fix could be enacted, moving them, figuring out what was even causing it to begin with, that is rarely done, right? Like, okay, why is this employee having such a hard time over here? What is going on? Let's try to figure that out. Rather than employees performing badly, they are bad, robot replaced with new robot. Like, yeah, I
What about friendships? How much of a struggle has it been for you? And do you teach others? How do you teach others to make friends?
Hmm. Friendships are very important. And this isn't like the whole Disney friendship is forever. Like, seriously, friendships are very important in allowing you to develop effectively in any kind of social scenario, even just general development. Being able to create and maintain relationships with other people is like a key part of the human experience. Now, for me, I didn't really make very many friends until, ironically enough, I started with therapy. Because prior to that, I mentioned my experience at the age of 11, which then made it very difficult for me to feel comfortable around people or trust people for the longest time. I just felt scared at all times of going near people. And then a few times I still tried to approach people every so often, and my behavior was considered too weird. At one point, I had, oh gosh, so I won't say names, but at one point I had this one person that I knew from school that I had a crush on. And from all of the books, it says in the book, if you have a crush on someone, you're supposed to tell them, hey, I have a crush on you. Okay, that's like what it says in the book. So I did it. And then I found out later that the only reason that I was even hanging out with that group of children was because they found me entertaining. Entertaining in the sense that, like, like a jester kind of thing to make fun of. And when I proclaimed my crush from, like, as it should be done, okay, like, hey, I think you're cool, I like you, and I'm pretty sure I have a crush on you. Yeah, that made it weird for her, and then all the other kids as well. And it became too serious for them, because I'm now no longer just a joke kid. So then they essentially push me out of playing with them anymore or being in their friend group. Like, no, you can't, stay away, we don't. So that happened, and I get it. It's like, a lot of children won't understand that, right? When you're a child, you don't quite understand the full impact of your actions, so I don't really blame them. But then that made me feel like, okay, you know what? I am someone that people don't like. I will just stay away from people, because am not a I am not a good person, because a good person is liked by people. So I had that going on for a while. That became enormously difficult to get out of. And oddly enough, my biggest solace came from online video games. Because in an online video game, nobody cares what you look like, nobody cares what you sound like, nobody cares about almost anything at all, other than, are you good at the game? Can you help the team win? Yes? Okay, cool. And I was good at a few of the games, and I could help the team win. And I got to make friends with a few people from there. And over time, those friendships got to develop further and further. And now there are some friends that I've had for more than 15 years because of that. I will say, you got to still be careful that it doesn't turn into like a full-on addiction. It's a very bad thing when that happens. So those friendships that I got to build helped me socially develop so much faster, because I was able to run through various social scenarios that my father otherwise couldn't keep practicing with me and get good feedback. And because of all of that, I got to where I am today. So friendships are genuinely what helped me get to where I am now. I don't think it would have been possible without it. So when you ask me how important is friendship, I'd say extremely. Making an environment which is comfortable for your child and comfortable for the children that would want to be around your child as well, making those bonds last, it's crucial.
Just continuing with what you shared, what causes stress today and how do you handle it? How are you like this? How are you so composed?
Uh, no, I know what I have in my, I know what specific sensory things I have. So for me, I am aware that if I'm around a lot of people for a certain period of time, what that will do. I know what level of noise I can take before it will start to get overwhelming. I know what level of general lighting and such. I know that the scenario that we're in is a little bit of a higher lighting environment. Now, normally that is something that if I was to be subjected, like if I was to be in this environment for a very long period of time, I would get overwhelmed. But I know that I can take certain things for a set period of time. So for me, I like to imagine it as an internal battery, right? How much charge do I have? If my charge is like towards the top, like I'm going to say this is the full battery, towards my full battery. If that is the case, then I will know that, okay, I can tolerate these things for about this long, these things for about this long. If I know that my battery level is getting lower and lower and lower, as that happens throughout the day, I will understand that, okay, I need to start reducing sensory input. I also have to plan based on my battery, because I know my capacity is not going to be that high. So I know, okay, I'm going to an environment which has a lot of people, like a temple or something. It's going to be loud, it's going to be noisy. So prior to that, I will try and shut down like everything else. Like, okay, I will sit in a quiet, dark room and I will meditate so that I can let myself recover and recharge a little bit before that happens. When I'm going there, I will wear earphones to try and reduce the audio a little bit so it's not quite as scary. I will stick to certain areas so that I'm not getting pushed on by too many people. Like, these things help me. These strategies that I got to learn over time help. So it does affect me. I am genuinely affected quite often, actually. There are a lot of times that I get close to just shutting down fully. However, because the people around me understand when I tell them, hey, I need to get out of here, I'm close to my limit, please. And they are okay with that and they support me with that and they help me get out of those scenarios. I'm able to continue functioning. So, like, as an example, when there was this one child that I was looking to work with, when I had gone to his house, I found out that whenever the door would be opened, he would start getting extremely upset, even if he was in the other room. And the parents couldn't quite figure out why. It was like, okay, the door should be open, there should be some ventilation, right? Turns out that when there was that ventilation, some of the breeze that would go through would hit this slightly cracked open pane of glass, right, and leave a very high pitched sound that is not easy to hear. But when this child heard it, he would get so upset and so angry and so frustrated. And because he was nonverbal, he couldn't quite communicate that. So we got to figure that out, point it out, make changes accordingly, and also make it so that when we're going to have a class, we will play something like white noise or brown noise, pink noise. Pink noise and brown noise are slightly softer versions of white noise. So you have something in the background, but it's soft. So other small things going on here and there can be ignored. It can all kind of blend away. And that made it possible for us to even have classes.
Wow. In continuation to this, so you've already you've done a course also, so I want you to share, and especially with the kind of experience that you've had as a child, how would you say we should create a safe and supportive entire environment for all of our special needs kids, especially those with ASD?
Well, the environment starts at home. So creating a safe and supportive environment usually means making sure that, well, okay, going to be very blunt here, it won't be easy. It'll be incredibly frustrating for a lot of parents at first. It will be difficult, it will be painful. You will go through so many resources you didn't realize that you would need, like so many, say, papers, or why do I need to go through 4 packets of Q-tips, for example. But it turns out that we use Q-tips as a way to make the environment more inclusive for, like, okay, this child hates the feel of something scratching on paper like a pen that makes a sound that this child hates. We take a Q-tip and we dip it in a little ink and then we just draw gently. Then we can communicate better, things like that, right? That is all part of making an environment more open. So having that lit all around the house. This is again an example for one child. Not every child is going to need something like this. So making an environment that is inclusive means also having to compromise on what you might think an ideal house is to make it more comfortable for everyone living there, including that child, right? Now, obviously, you don't want to turn the entire house into something that is amazing for the child exclusively, but then it becomes difficult for you to navigate and move. So finding the balance of those compromises is important. Now, how you do this? Honestly, a lot of it is going to be trial and error, and I'm very sorry to say that, but there is no one single solution for it. You will go through, you will see, okay, my child has these sensitivities, so I'll see what I can do to reduce that input from affecting them. My child likes these things, so I'll see what I can add to that. You make a few changes, you try it out for some time, you realize, okay, these things need to change again, this thing is not working out, this thing's not working out. You make some more changes and you keep reiterating over and over and over. And then after years, maybe you'll have an environment where the child will be like, oh yeah, when they come home they'll be like completely calm, like, okay, this is it, this is my safe space, I feel set.
Jay, what's coming up for you? What is Jay thinking of doing, say, in the next 5 years, 10 years? What do you want to do?
Okay, oh wow, that's a nice question. For one thing, I like for the next year or two, I'm definitely going to continue what I'm currently doing, which is mostly home visits with either special education or tutoring, academic coaching, as being like a small part of it, and then a larger part being therapies. Then in the future, what I would like to do is I'd really like to have a clinic of some kind, or be a part of either a clinic or an organization which can help train other therapists. Because I feel like not only will I be able to work with a larger number of children and help a greater number of children, I will also be able to help other people work with these same children. So then that knowledge is getting shared. More people are getting to understand things a little bit deeper, a little bit better. And that impact is what I'm hoping will continue to spread. We keep sharing that knowledge, and then over time, it becomes like this big wave. That's what I hope for.
Such fabulous and, really everything crossed for you. Wishing you all the best. Thank you so much for being so honest, for being so wonderful, so positive, and sharing everything that happened for you. Yes, this is very, very short, but it gave a glimpse into your life. And thanks for putting yourself out here and saying everything. All your dreams, all your aspirations are wonderful, and we do hope that you achieve every single of them, even more, many, many more that you will have along the way. And thanks, big thanks again. Hope many, many more people get in touch with you to understand how to, help their children, how to help themselves. I'm going to get in touch with you. Thank you so much. Thanks.